Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks bringing you your daily Tesla report for Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Let's take a look at the chart. Start with the big picture. Just a reminder, we are a couple of months into the settlement above 364.57, expecting 526.79 as our long-term target. I mentioned 5 to 8 months or sooner, and that is because we've got this sort of inside midterm channel top that this week is at 490.97. On the daily chart, the same structure comes in at 482.90. This is an area that is still sellable resistance. You can see how it actually correlates pretty well with the December high at 488.53. So this is still a resistance area that is sellable on a daily, weekly, and even on a 3 to 5 week basis. So, I mean, actually, we could fall from here back into what is now channel support and climbing at, where are you? 374.80. That is the same channel bottom, 374.80, that we find on the channel top on the daily chart at 482.90. They're constructed slightly differently, which is why we don't have that labeled to the downside. To properly show 374.80, you need to show the trend lines across these highs from which it is constructed. So that is kind of your big picture. And those are your different time frames. You know, long-term expecting 526.79. Long-term, if given the opportunity, you're buying the 360s, 370s. The opportunity, we're not sure if it will present. It does pretty clearly if we can, over the next few weeks, close below 408.12. So, you know, these numbers are updated every day. As it turns out, last Friday, after closing Thursday below the low 450s, we closed back above on Friday. So above, below, back above, chop, chop, chop. This tells us this market does not have what I would call kind of a 3 to 5 day, 1 to 2 week directional impulse right now. It's kind of at a pause. That's not to say that I'm expecting consolidation here. I mean, that may actually be what occurs over the next 3 to 5 days. 467, by the way, I think is in reach today above 451.60, 452.25. This is still a buyable level on a day trade basis. Should you be long as a 3 to 5 day swing trader back into the low 480s? I think you can be. I think a sigh of relief, if you are long, would come with a settlement today above 467 even, which is that high that was put out a Tuesday of last week. That is in reach today. Day trade, buying the low 450s, selling 467 even as a profit. I don't know if I would sell short 467 even because I do skew slightly to the upside following last Friday's settlement above 452.25. I do see the 3 to 5 day swing trade as being bullish. It's just that, you know, I'm not crazy about what has played out here. Having closed above it, we did not follow through into the 480s. Back below it, we were then anticipating 408.12. Wasn't to be, at least at this point in time, hasn't occurred. And now that we're back above it, I'm skewing more to the upside, but not as confidently as you might expect. 467 even can contain intraday buying. That is the high from last week. And if we close today above 467 even, I think that's a clear shot within several days for 482.90. 482.90. Once again, if you're long now, anticipating 482.90, or if you go long today or tomorrow with a settlement above 467 even, I still think it's a solid area to take profits in on a long position.
If you're finding value in this analysis, it's only a glimpse of what we offer. Your real trading edge starts at wickedstocks.com. Each week, premium members receive 2 high-probability stock picks. Each one comes with a complete trade plan, including exact entry, profit target, stop loss, and regular updates so you can manage the trade with confidence. You'll also get daily video analysis in the top traded markets, the SPY, the Triple Q, and NVIDIA, highlighting the key price levels, trends, and trade setups we're focused on. Whether you're day trading or swing trading, these insights help you zero in on the highest quality opportunities with clarity. Try it all free for 5 days. Cancel at any time.
That is established only over the short-term time frame. Once again, you may be a near-term investor who bought a couple of months ago above that 364.57 formation. And if that's the case, I'm not trying to shake you at all out of the long position. I think it is a buy and hold strategy as kind of a 3 to 5 month near-term investor. You're holding out for 526.79. And certainly if we were to close this week above 490.97, that resistance area I've already mentioned, we're just another 2 to 3 weeks away from reaching 526.79. 526.79 is a significant 5-year channel top that can contain buying through Q1, possibly into later 26. And so this is an area to take profits really in all time frames. We can fall away from here back into the 360s within 2 to 3 to 5 months, or even lower perhaps as we continue into later 26. And certainly if we were over the weeks ahead to close above 526.79, that's a significant buy signal as we move into later 26. Let's cover the downside just a bit. And that is to say that, yes, if we close below 451.60, I would skew ever so slightly to the downside. But, as I mentioned before, having closed above it, that was a clear buy signal about a week ago. Back below it, a sign of weakness on a failed buy signal. But now that we're back above it, the market is basically telling us, not so fast. There's no strong directional impulse right now. And so at your own risk, trade the low 450s because it's just got a reduced element of reliability. And I think the market has told us this now. So if we do close back below 451.60, I see that no other way to interpret it as the market susceptible to falling back to 432.67 tomorrow. That's a 5/8 downside Fibonacci from that earlier October low against the high from last week. And, if you were to play the short side into later week, waiting for a settlement below 432.67, I don't have a problem with that. I think that is a more reliable proposition, despite the fact that it's an intraday support level only. So let's just say that closing today, which is not likely, though over the next few days, certainly possible, below 432.67, we set up for 408.12. 408.12 horizontal channel structure. This is a solid level to buy into as a weekly support level. So it can contain weekly lows, and we just might round up from here. We're in this sort of consolidative phase right now that has played out for the last 4 or 5 weeks. 408.12 could be considered the base of that consolidation. So we could bottom out here even into later November and round up again. And finally, the question obviously is begged all along, when might we have a signal for actually anticipating 374.80? I mean, I mentioned how holding below these channel structures in the 480s will keep it in reach as an attainable level, and I use attainable very deliberately, but in terms of a clear-cut expected target, a settlement below 408.12 would set up 374.80 as an objective. 374.80 is the beginning of a range down to 364.57, which is that long-term channel top that we settled above 2 months ago that can absorb selling through the first quarter of next year, and from there we can round up to the 526.79 structure within 3 to 5 months. 5 to 8 months is possible, as I say, and I've been talking about that ever since. We closed above it 2 months ago, this 364.57, that 526.79, a 5 to 8 month target. And I have no regrets in that because we're not quite sure how this is all going to play out. We're about 2 months into it right now, so no, we're kind of more in the 3 to 5 month time frame. But we can, over the coming weeks, fall back into the 360s, 370s, which becomes clarified as a tradable signal if over the next week or two we close below 408.12. Until then, we still skew to the upside. We're still in a long-term buy signal. We are back above the low 450s. I think the emphasis remains upside into the 480s, 490s over the next week or two. And as I said earlier, closing today above 467, even last week's high, would clarify this 482.90 to 499.7 region as the next 3 to 5 day target. I think I've said it all, and I am going to leave it at that for Monday's Daily Tesla Report. You have a great day.